What's up, viewers? This is going to be my first trophy in Magic Online. You can see right here I have one trophy. I am using, I'll show you the deck right now. It's this one right here, but I'll show it to you in my collection. So, these are the lands. It only plays one Undercity Sewer because I didn't want to spend the money to buy another one. I know I could rent it, but for now it's just playing one. My paper version of this deck does have two in it, but it has only two considers, four preordain, which I know a lot of decks are just playing Thought Scour and consider because they're playing Oculus. This deck just plays four Murktide as the biggest threat. This is a debatable choice. I have two Graveyard Trespassers in it. It's not a very good card without Unearth. At least that's the opinion of a lot of people, I'm pretty sure. But this deck doesn't play on Earth. It worked out this time around, and it actually did some pretty good plays in a matchup against Boros Energy. It completely prevented them from using their Phlages, and it, at the same time, ended up winning the game with damage because it very quickly flips into a 4/4 if you keep a counter spell in your hand and then go to the game, or just skip over your next turn. Um, yeah, it plays two Sink into Stupor, three Force of Negation, one Brazen Borrower. I gotta admit, I don't think I used this card once. I sided it out almost every single game. So I could easily bring in something else, maybe even a third Subtlety for that. Um, or a fourth Orcish Bowmaster, even. I don't know. Yeah, so it has the standard. It has to have four Psychic Frog, three Orcish Bowmaster, one Bitter Triumph. In my opinion, the best removal right now or at least two mana removal for big creatures and stuff. It also gets rid of planeswalkers, so you can destroy somebody going off with Tameo or something like that, or even get rid of like a Grist or a Renin 6. I don't think I had any matchups like that, but yeah, four counter spell. Some decks are running only like two or three now, but it's with Oculus, not Murktide. This is definitely a more controlling version of the deck. Um, for the counters, it has two of each of these three 1 mana counters, which I end up using honestly more than counterspell. These are just such great cards. I think it's almost required, in my opinion. Having two Stern Scolding main deck is really, really good. I've been doing that for a little while now, and I have one in the sideboard, even with the two in the main deck. Cling to Dust plays so well. It really comes in clutch all the time. I sometimes see it when I'm surveilling off of Undercity Sewers, and I'm like, I mean, I'll take it. And I leave it on top. It's such a good card for Fatal Push, almost required in this meta. Harbingers in the sideboard instead of in the main deck. It could be probably played in the main deck. Maybe even that could replace a Brazen Borrower, but it really only came in clutch, I think, in like one match. I could have sided it in against the Boros Energy deck I played against, but I didn't. I thought they would be too ready for it. It really didn't see a whole lot of play in this league. But three Consigned to Memory, which I used very little of. Surgical Extraction can be good against Boros Energy and a couple other decks if you can get rid of a combo piece. It doesn't really work out too often. I know a lot of people say it's card disadvantage to play that card, and Thoughtseize, but this is the card disadvantage trio right here that I will side in against combo decks, and it may or may not work out ever, but I definitely like having it just in case. And that play is really good if you can get rid of a huge combo piece permanently by thought seizing it out or even countering it later and surgical extraction. Also, it's not a bad bring in against Boros Energy, like I said. Just having those two 1 mana graveyard removal spells are great. Stone Brain, another one. I think I sided it in once and ended up not doing well with it, but it was a must get rid of by the opponent. I think I was playing. I can't actually remember what deck I was playing against when I used that, but we'll find out. Two Nihil Spellbomb for other graveyard related decks, mostly for Oculus, and Engineered Explosives is really good against a couple of different decks. It can be good against Boros Energy, and it also can be good against any affinity decks. I didn't play any though. I don't think I sided these in. I definitely sided in Nihil Spellbomb, sided in these three. Toxic Deluge got sided in. And I think I sided in yeah, these three definitely one or two consigned memories during my. Anyway, let's get to the league. Where was I? Yeah, so I just got finished. Um, I'm actually going to play game two, or we'll go with game three first because you know what? We'll go with game one. The only reason I hesitate is because this deck is against or this this matchup is against a ball lightning player, which was kind of a free match. Um, I do wish I got one more challenging deck in this, but I definitely went up against some really challenging decks later in the league. Yeah, I was really shocked to see this. I thought it was going to be, I mean, immediately he discards away a ball lightning, so I knew what it was, but I thought it was going to be something else. And then I mean, it was an interesting game, but he definitely didn't have much of a chance, unfortunately. So this game goes by very fast. I just counter almost everything he has. He did get rid of my psychic frog, which is good for him. Fear of missing out is one of those cards that like I feel like almost never works out. I have it in a paper deck that I have, a rakdos delirium deck, and it just so many times either gets killed right when it enters. The only good thing about it is that you still get to get that discard and draw. Yeah, so here my deck just plays so many options to get rid of small creatures like that that are threatening or counter them rather. So he did the ball lightning combo once. I decided to kill that. Definitely the best move. He conceded. I think he just knew I was too far ahead. I was going to keep drawing. He had one card in hand. Anyway, let's get into game two. Oops, I think I just dropped or got rid of that. Let's see. This was definitely the deck. Yeah, so game two. I mulligan to 6. Again, he immediately puts lightning skeletal into the graveyard. Such a fun deck, but I would love to play this in paper, but in Magic Online, it's never. I'm sure he runs into too many tough decks. Currently in the process of building a Jund version of my Rakdos Delirium deck in paper. Just really for fun. I want to play some older like Tarmogoyf and stuff like that, just have a fun modern deck to play. Um, Not that Frogtide isn't fun. It's one of my favorite decks, but yeah. So he keeps playing these Stitcher suppliers, fills his graveyard to the brim with all kinds of lightning skelementals. He has unearths in the deck, which is good to pull out those, I guess, and Seasoned Pyromancer. He has definitely some good cards, but just and here, yeah, he sacrifices one of these and gets out one of his. Yeah, but unfortunately, I think he chose wrong there because if he got out a lightning skelemental or something, but he was hoping for the recurring skelemental. He's already so far behind. I think the game's almost over. Yeah, so very easy game or match one of the league. As you can see, the rest of the 4 that I have remaining here at the bottom, I lost at least one game in all of them. The second game, I think was this is why I was almost thinking about skipping to game 3 because this is I think this is a burn deck. I could be wrong. There was definitely a burn deck in this league. Yeah, here it is. I think he ends up taking me out in a game though. Yeah, he does. It might be game 2 I lose. And game 3 was pretty close. I also have a burn deck in paper that I love playing. It's just not very good against anything that plays blue. I mean, it's great against like combo decks, I feel like anything you can kill your opponent fast and they can't slow you down. Yeah, here I use Cling to Dust to gain 3 life back, just basically just to negate the fact that he used a lightning bolt on me. He keeps attacking me, revealing the top card. I am down to 12 here. End up hard casting the Force of Negation. Subtlety in my hand is pretty bad right now. Fatal Push is great. So now he has to draw 4 burn spells, and also if I draw a land, I can gain another 3 life. Graveyard Trespasser gives me life as well. But I am down to 7 here. So if I don't start gaining life, I think I'm thinking like, did I win game 2 or lose game 2 or this one? Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I win this game. The life gain starts to occur. I decide to block here. It's an even trade. I just keep Bowmasters up and Force Negation up. Bowmaster's instep allows me to start chipping away at him. Bitter Triumph is a pretty bad draw. But at least I can prevent one of his spells no matter what. And eventually, if I draw another land, I get a... Yeah, I told him I forgot to attack here. I'm actually going to get rid of this, so... That way we can have a full view of the game. I get another Trespasser, start gaining life again. Really haven't drawn that 4th land yet, and would love... Obviously, I probably was hoping for it here. And I'm at 3 life, so he could easily kill me. Yeah, he does here. That's right. Okay, so he wins game 1. So it was actually interesting first game. A lot of the time, burn will do that, catch you off guard game 1. This game, I have Harbinger 2 times in opening hand. Debatably bad, but he's also playing Boros, so he does have these lands that are just going to turn into nothing when I use them. Counter a Skull Crack. Eidolon getting countered. I am pretty low on life already. If you see right here, I'm at 9. But I get out that Harbinger, and he has no mountain. And then I get a Psychic Frog. I get rid of his Lava Spike. I don't know why I chose Lava Spike, but yeah, he ended up conceding. Game 3 against Boros Burn. Great opening hand. Other than the fact that I don't have 2 blue sources. It's a pretty good hand, I guess. I do have Spell Pierce, though. And this game was very close, I'm pretty sure. Z is able to get me down to 13 on turn 2. I get a Psychic Frog for blocker. Path to Exile is pretty brutal here. Then he eliminates graveyards. As you can see, I'm probably like thinking in my head I'm going to lose this game, but I do have a psychic frog in my hand, and he might not have removal for it anymore. And at this point, I have 4 lands, so I'm able to counter 1 and cast something, and 2 psychic frogs, and now a force of negation. On another rest in peace, it doesn't matter, but it does count towards prowess. So I was able to wait. Does that add up? Okay, so it's a 4/5. I think he hit me. Yeah, he hit me with the lightning bolt. Because he figured that the power of the Monastery Swift Spear would go up, and I would have to discard more cards. I don't know. I think that was a bad play by him, maybe, but it probably wouldn't have mattered in the long run anyway. But maybe it would have, because he could draw 2 burn spells and kill me. But he did end up conceding. So game 3. Game 3 was a tougher matchup, I believe. Yeah, I kept a 1-lander here, but I got a polluted delta. Oh yes, this was Amulet Titan. He did end up getting a slower first game, which I think helped me win the first match, and I was able to counter his spelunking, which was definitely huge. A graveyard trespasser here. Bringing in Psychic Frog and keeping up Cling to Dust and Spell Snare. Which does Spell Snare cover this? It does not. Does not. And here, what? Oh yes, what an what an insane play. I kind of freaked out when that happened because I Cling to Dusted literally to only find Force of Negation, so he wouldn't get a whole nother array of lands. So I Cling to Dust one of his things and get a Force of Negation, and that basically won me this first match. Play a 3rd frog, and at this point, he can't really do anything. I have 2 counter spells. Another escape shift gets countered. And I think that was GG. He does pass to me. Get a bowmaster for more damage to try to take him out. I draw 3 more cards. Get a force. Have a counter. He gets counterspelled. I mean, this game really shows how much the controlling factor of this deck really helps without having to worry about Unearth getting drawn and Oculus dying to removal spells is a lot more common than Murktide Regent dying. And here he thinks he's going to cast something else again. And yeah, GG first game. Second game, he wins, obviously. But yeah, so this game, this is the one where I had the Stone Brain, and really, like, it didn't end up helping whatsoever. I don't know about this card. I just thought I would include it to try to take out those combo decks like Through the Breach or Otherworldly Breach and Belcher, even though Belcher is already kind of a bad matchup against this deck. So here I get out Stone Brain, but he has a way. I didn't even think about this. He has Urza Saga out. And he's able to Besage you as well. But he could also just get a Haywire Might if he has one. I mean, here the game is almost over already. I could have conceded here. I just wanted to play it out, see exactly what he needed to do to win. And he ends up comboing off here and winning the match. I don't see this deck very much, so it's always fun to watch. He steals my frog. I mean, this is such a powerful board he has with 6 there. Casting a whatever it was 6/6 Frogtide really does nothing here. Next turn is going to be extremely explosive. I think he might even get a way to get rid of my Murktide. I could be wrong. Yeah, and I conceded. I was just like, okay, I see where it's going. I mean, I already knew, but I decided I would watch it out a little bit. And this game really shows you when Harbinger of the Seas can take off and just win you the game, just like it did earlier against Burn. So turn 3, he has no answer for Harbinger of the Seas, and I'm getting awful draws, but it really doesn't matter at this point. And I don't know why I even tried to counter that. I could have waited for something that he might have to remove my Harbinger, but I just decided to do it, make him spend more mana. Another Harbinger comes in. He does have Volatile Storm Drake here, yeah, and he's able to take one of them. And he's like hoping that I'll attack into his Harbinger, I think, with mine. But he also gave me a flying creature to give him a better clock. And I just keep attacking for 3 every turn until he thinks he has another answer. Vexing Bobble. And then I think I just attack with everything here. Except for the Harbinger. Yeah, and that was game 3, just 2 Harbinger of the Seas. Great card in some instances. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Game 4. This deck I just recently lost to in a paper Magic thing. I went 2 with an Oculus version of this deck. And that day actually made me want to try reverting back to using just Murktide because the removal in this deck, this Orzov Blink deck, I guess is what it was called. Its removal is so centered towards low mana cost cards like Oculus and Psychic Frog, besides like Solitude and I think maybe an occasional Path to Exile. That it's great to be able to cast that Murktide and also control their creatures with like Stern Scolding and Subtlety. And even bowmaster sometimes. So I'm able to increase the or decrease the clock quite a bit down to only. Well, he doesn't know this, but I have Murktide, so very few turns. I'm able to get rid of his. So his Felia is also one of the biggest threats against my Murktide Regent because it makes it a 3/3 flyer. Um, and then impending a Oculus at this point is just almost nothing. Recruiter of the Guard gets him a Solitude, though, so he is able to give me some life. And if I had one other blue card in hand, I could have Subtlety'd here. Again, showing you the power of that card. Just, I feel like free counters are so good. I mean, it's not a hot take at all, but I just feel like not playing Subtlety against, especially in this creature deck meta that's going on right now. Almost, I mean, Boros Energy, this deck, and Oculus all use so many creatures that you can Subtlety. Here I hard cast Subtlety, make him. And also, I love it when people top their cards. I don't know if he did here, but he ends up conceding after that. Because I think that in another game, somebody tops a card, and I'm like, okay, well, that means I know exactly what you're going to play next turn. Here I mulligan to 6. Yeah, there was one game I mulliganed to 5. I thought it might be this, but also 6 with an Undercity Sewers on the draw. Definitely not a great start. But I do have a free counter in my hand. But not a free counter for a Fatal Push. One good thing about Psychic Frog is that it is a must kill. So if he did have a Felia in hand that he was thinking about casting, it's not an option against Psychic Frog. You have to kill it. Here I thought sees an amazing play, actually, I should pause it. Because I was able to take an Orcish Bowmaster from his hand, and as you see, he had 2 in his hand, and I had a Surgical Extraction. So I was then able to exile the other one from his hand. So I took 2 cards for 1 mana. 2 cards for 1 mana. I do see he has a Overlord in hand as well. And somehow he is able to pull this game off. I'm not remembering. I think he just ends up closing it out with. Yeah, he must have just closed it out with some. I also draw another Thoughtseize here. This is where the card is bad because he only had 1 card in hand. And Emperor of Bones is so good because um because he can make it into a 4/4 and instantly put a Psychic Frog onto the battlefield or whatever he has under it. Subtlety in this case. Here I could have honestly just conceded, but I was hoping maybe I just draw Murktide and win with damage. But here he puts down a 3/3 with haste. I don't have a choice but to discard my whole hand unless I want my Psychic Frog to die. And yeah, that's pretty much GG. I think I do draw. Yeah, no, I just attack with. Yeah, no, I skip. Yeah, and I can't block. So unless I draw like some miracle that I don't even have in my deck, I could have just conceded. I don't know why I kept playing. Here it was. And here's game 3. Very close game. think I just end up controlling him a little too well. I look at his hand, it is pretty stacked up. It has 2 Felias, an Ephemerate, a Recruiter, 2 Overlords, Fatal Push for my creatures. Yeah. So the 2 Felias is the scariest part, because if he gets an Overlord out, he has 2 Felias, not just 1, that I have to deal with to prevent him from flipping that Overlord on his turn. But he is only at 2 mana, so he can only do really 1 thing at a time. And I have a counterspell here, a 1 mana counterspell. He gets that first Overlord out, and I am just banking on winning with Murktide here, because that's the only thing I feel is fast enough to kill him before that Overlord starts taking over. I get out Psychic Frog. He tries to Fatal Push. It doesn't work, but it does require me getting rid of my counterspell for his Felia. I luckily draw this Stern Scolding, which I had three of at this point after sideboarding. So now he's in kind of a iffy spot, but he has 6 cards in hand. But because he has 3 Overlords going, he just has to wait on those. And yeah. And also, I played Orcish Bowmaster end of turn here. I probably should have just held up Stern Scolding, but I didn't know he had subtlety at this point. It seemed like he was just drawing lands, because after I saw his hand. But because he used subtlety, or sorry, I keep saying subtlety. He used solitude on my frog. That gives me the chance to get out Murktide. He has 2 turns left before he gets an Overlord. He has 11 life. He basically has to win with solitude. Which I think he might have sided some out here. Or he has a very bad hand. I would like to see what it is, to be honest, but Felia was the only way. He was thinking he could maybe get rid of my Murktide. And he makes his last attack, which kind of scares me, because I'm thinking, oh wait, does he have something for Murktide? And he didn't. So I ended up winning game 3. Anyway, that deck has given me a lot of problems against especially Oculus. Was that game 4 or game 3? Oh no, that was game 4. Okay, so this is the final game. This is against Boros Energy, a very, very strong deck in this format right now. The Undercity Sewers awake or entry with Cling to Dust on top. Debatable play by my part, but I was believing in this card's power. I get an island. Orcish Bowmaster is great against Ragavan, I gotta say. Great against Ragavan, great against Ocelot, and those are... Ocelot is a huge threat. Psychic Frog. He plays Flage here, which is fine, because I'm able to discard 2 cards to save Psychic Frog, and I'm able to cling to dust it when it gets in the graveyard, so he can't cast it on a later turn. And there it goes, and I gain 3 life back. So I get a buffed up Psychic Frog. I just throw Murktide away, because at this point I don't really feel like I need it. And then I draw a Graveyard Trespasser. So And you better believe he has another Flage for my graveyard trespasser to continuously take out. And I draw another one. It's such a good card. Just graveyard hate is so good. And I love that it also means that you don't lose if you lose your graveyard. Because as long as your opponent has a graveyard and they're putting creatures in it, you can gain life. They can lose life from it. You have that 3/3 or 4/4 threat. He takes out my Psychic Frog. I exile another Flage. And I let it pass, so my graveyard flips. Or yeah, my Trespasser flips. And it just takes over the game here. I just keep up counters instead of casting the second Trespasser. And end of turn here, I do just return Galvanic Discharge, or whatever it is, or Goblin Bombardment to his hand. And I have Bitter Triumph for whatever he might play. And again, exile in my graveyard does very little here. And I didn't even think about this, but when you play a second graveyard Trespasser, it's a graveyard glutton just like the other. Yeah, and that was GG for first game. Second game, obviously he's going to win because there is 3 games. Stern Scolding in opening hand. Undercity Sewers also in opening hand. So, but having Orcish Bowmaster, I thought, okay, so if he plays like Ocelot, I might be able to take it out or surprise him with a block later with Orcish Bowmaster against the Guide of Souls, but he ends up doing neither of those things. And I sort of feel good about this at this point, but you'll see where the game goes in his favor. I also guess I should mention I opted to not side in Nihil Spellbomb, which might have been a bad choice, but the first game went so well with just Graveyard Glutton or Graveyard Trespasser and Cling to Dust. I think I ended up just putting in Surgical Extraction and another Stern Scolding and a couple other things, but not Nihil Spellbomb. Here, Flage is pretty bad for me because he has 5 cards other than Flage in his graveyard already. Best thing I can do is Orcish Bowmaster and hope for the best. Also, my opponent makes a really interesting decision on his next turn. I decided to attack. This might have actually thrown him off attacking. Because he decides to not haste his Flage. Because he maybe thinks that it's going to get countered. But it doesn't. And I just figured I could block again with the Orcish Bowmaster if he does put it out. I think I bottom Psychic Frog here. I was looking for exactly something like that, and it happened. Yeah. So I start dealing some damage to him, but little do I know, his hand is full of removal spells, and I think even another. I thought it was another Flage. That might have been first game I was thinking of. Here I get a counter spell, which I think I ended up kind of whiffing because I use it on. this card, which, I mean, it might have screwed me over if I didn't, but that also gives him the chance to cast Flage next turn, because Static Prison dies. And I have no answers for it, especially since I had to fetch. Because I could have Fatal Pushed it. And he hastes this one. I go down to 3, I believe. Or no. Yeah, 3. And now I have a useless Deluge in my hand. Bloodstained Mire and Fatal Push are my only chance. And I die to like any creature because I'm at 1 life. And I end up dying here to him casting Guide of Souls. I just because he could sacrifice it, I just quit out. So game 3, last game of the entire trophy. I was very nervous at this point because I have not gotten a trophy before, and I was really super excited, or I guess just amped up about it. And I had a kind of iffy first hand too. I kept 7, but I had 2 sinks in my hand, and no black source. And I ended up getting unlucky and drawing a Fatal Push. But it ends up being lucky because I get a Watery Grave before he even casts a spell. And he tries to do the Felia, which I didn't even know he played in that deck, but he does. Guide of Souls comes in, I decide to use one of my Fatal Pushes, be mana efficient, and kill it. Preordain is the best card in this deck. I put Psychic Frog and Polluted Delta on top so I can put out the Delta first. That could have been a wrong decision, but I felt like I should just keep keeping up counters and hope for the best. And I knew I was going to draw Psychic Frog next turn. I think the idea was to keep up Frog and Counterspell, but I didn't end up going that route. And I let him kill it. So I get another Frog. That was just luck. Definitely seeing where I could have played things a little better. Maybe getting Frog that... I mean, it ended up working out, but... Static Prison, I let happen. Because I know I can get rid of his 1 creature, and I have Surgical Extraction for if he ever does play a Flage. I Fatal Push it. Keep up 2 counters, potentially. Subtlety in hand. Now I pretty much knew it was GG at this point. Even though he's still at 16 life, it's only a matter of time because I have the mana to cast Subtlety. He has mostly creatures. Here I just Subtlety. And this is where he, I believe, makes a huge mistake and puts it on top. Because he knows that I have 3 cards in hand. Potentially 4 cards after my next draw. And I give him the opportunity to put it on top. Means he's not going to draw anything else other than that. He now only has 2 cards in hand. It ends up being a Static Prison that he draws, but I counter it. And Seasoned Pyromancer just goes right back to his hand again with Sink into Stupor. Also, Seasoned Pyromancer is significantly worse, I believe. Well, it's better and worse when you only have 1 card in hand, because when you cast it, you have to discard cards. And if you don't have any cards to discard, you don't create any of those 1/1s. Although you still get to draw 2 cards, which isn't really much of a downside. But it's just a 2/2. It's really just a 2/2 when you put it out. Here I end up countering it again. Fable comes out. And here I just know I already won the game. I ended up playing a little recklessly in this last turn, but it paid off. He has 0 cards in hand. I played Frogtide. Surgical Extraction to fill my graveyard with an extra card for Psychic Frog to have flying, then I just decided to Fatal Push his creature anyway, so it's kind of a pointless endeavor. He's down to 5. He draws, and he gives up here. I think he already said GG in the chat at this point, and yeah. So anyway, thank you for watching. Sorry if it was a rambly, long video to watch. Hopefully, it was at least mildly enjoyable. There's my trophy, and I got a ton of play points to play more leagues in the future. And I opened a lot of. I've never opened one of those. Like it was like 13 chests or something like that, and it gave me a lot of good stuff. I got some shock lands and stuff, which I already own most of the shock lands. I also got Liliana of the Veil, the new version too. I could probably. I don't know how much that's selling for on Card Hoarder, but I could check it out. Anyway, thanks for watching again, and see you in the next video. Peace.